Welcome back. We are live on Broadcast Row at CPAC 2024. Andy Mangione here, hosting listen to me, okay, hosting AMAC's Better for America podcast. I'll get that out right. I want to welcome back to the podcast Scott Shepard, who's director of the Free Enterprise Project. Scott, thanks for taking the time to join us.
Andy, thanks so much. I'm always glad to be on with you.
Now, we've worked together, and we'll get into that in a little bit, but I just want, for our audience, you can give an overview of the kind of work that you're doing at the Free Enterprise Project.
Well, Andy and I were showgirls together. What we do at the Free Enterprise Project is that we fight woke capitalism. We fight the idea...
Woke capitalism.
Woke capitalism,
yes, gotcha.
That's right.
Okay.
We fight these corporations that have taken hard left positions across the waterfront on issues that have nothing to do with their core business, has nothing to do with their fiduciary duties. They lie about and say, oh, this is just good for everybody's business. This is going to help shareholders when it's setting shareholder value on fire.
What's the first rule of business, Scott? I'll tell you, maximize shareholder wealth.
Yeah, and
they're flaunting that.
That's the first legal duty, the
right.
first fiduciary duty,
Right.
and they get it wrong every time, some of these ridiculous companies.
How long have you been fighting this wokeness?
Well, the Free Enterprise Project's been at it for about 15 years. If I can pat us on the back,
sure.
We were one of the first to realize that corporations of the 80s, so we were trustworthy conservatives, or at least sensible, had lost their minds after Occupy Wall Street, after Zuccotti Park. You know, they made a deal with the hard left. Well, you can keep your billions if you push our lunatic policies on everybody else. And so that's how they've been behaving ever since.
And those lunatic policies include ESG.
That's right.
And why don't you tell us, because that's kind of central to the wokeness.
That's exactly right. And the two key pillars of ESG, and they say they're not partisan, they say they're not woke, but gosh golly, they turn out to be the two whole of government initiatives of the Biden administration, are equity, which means discrimination on the basis of race, sex, and orientation, just with the vector switch. So, you know, discrimination against whites, discrimination against men, discrimination against straight people, often by CEOs who are themselves fat old white straight men, right?
Exactly right.
Good for them, bad for everybody else. And then the other one is decarbonization. So again, you've got these old billionaires leaving their mansions in their limousines to take their private jets to Davos at the top of the world in the middle of the winter, to stay in these well-heated hotels, eat Wagyu beef, and tell the rest of us that we have to cut our carbon footprints, and that companies are going to have to charge a lot more and we can have a lot less, so that they can use green energy, which isn't affordable, isn't reliable, isn't technologically available at scale, and isn't particularly green in the end result.
So tell me how the Free Enterprise Project activates shareholders who disagree with these ESG policies.
Well, for years we've been submitting shareholder proposals. We were one of the few groups. Now we've got some allies with us. You were just talking about ADF. They do some of this work, the Alliance Defending Freedom and others. Submitting shareholder proposals to try to respond to the dozens and dozens and dozens the left submits at corporations, and lots of corporations every year. And as well, now we are helping conservatives and centrists to vote their shares in ways that favor their ideological commitments. We're going to have a way that I'll be talking about with you later in the month to allow shareholders to automate their shares to vote the way we and they think. We're also working directly with, finally, BlackRock and State Street and Vanguard and the proxy advisory services, forcing them to be the nonpartisans that they've pretended and lied about being for 15 or 20 years. We're working with state attorneys general in sane states, not red states, sane states, and state financial officers to help them to remind these corporations, look, you're violating all sorts of law. It turns out that discrimination's illegal, even if it's against people you say are non-diverse. And we think we've got some criminal statutes that you might be violating, and all the way up and down the line. And so we in the center and on the right have finally realized that corporations are not our friends anymore, and that we have to fight and fight hard and fight at corporate boards. And so that's what we're doing all along the Watchtower.
Okay, now I know that it's not just limited to banking. You're looking at industry and business as a whole.
Yeah.
But I did want to focus in on J.P. Morgan Chase.
Yes.
All right, because
the locus of evil.
Explain that exactly right. I mean, this is the biggest bank in the world, led by a raging leftist.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he poses as a centrist because he'd quite like to be in the White House. But I'll tell you what happens. And Andy, we worked together on this, and you all and your members have been amazing partners in putting the pressure on J.P. Morgan because a couple of events set this off. But one last year was that Ambassador Governor Senator Brownback, so not some guy off the street, not somebody you've got to worry about. He had set up a religious liberty organization. They started to bank with Chase. Suddenly they got their account shut. And Chase went through...
And they call that debanking.
The debanking, that's right.
So their account was just arbitrarily closed.
And they asked why, and they got 4 sets of demonstrable lies. And then finally, J.P. Morgan set on, and we've had discussions with them, forcing them to try to tell us what in the heck is going on. And finally, what they said to us was, listen, we have regulations that force us to demand the names of donors of certain questionable organizations. Oh, you mean a religious liberty organization run by a senator, governor, ambassador? Mm-hmm. Well, we can't tell you exactly why, but it's not partisan. We do it to everybody. Oh, really? Who else do you do it to? Oh, we can't tell you that. Don't you share private information voluntarily with the government about who buys guns? Oh, well, I mean, that's different. Can you point to me the regulations under which you're acting? Oh, no, you can look them up yourselves. Wait, so what? Now, we have kids, we have employees, we have people who either tell us the truth or they don't. You tell me, if anybody in this situation tells you 4 demonstrable lies and then says, oh, absolutely trust us, but we absolutely won't provide you any information to back up our claim that finally this 5th time we're telling the truth, and we're going to rely on something arcane, hoping that you'll get confused and just go away. These are liars. Mm-hmm. J.P. Morgan, its chief financial purpose appears to be lying to the American people these days, and that's where we are with J.P. Morgan.
I want to talk a little bit about how we work together on this initiative. Last year we talked here. We'd also talked in Washington, D.C., and you were looking for J.P. Morgan Chase customers to reach out to the leadership, to reach out to executives at the organization, to tell them to stop this, to tell them to subscribe to the Viewpoint Diversity Index.
That's
okay.
Right.
So we'll get into that in a second. Bottom line, we activated the membership from April through September of last year. And we kind of drizzled this out, focusing on about 7 or 8 J.P. Morgan Chase executives, including its CEO, including its general counsel, shareholder or investor relations. We had other officers there to send 91,000 emails telling them to stop this practice, telling them to subscribe to the Viewpoint Diversity Index, which is an index that measures an organization's, and tell me if I'm wrong, okay, an organization's support for religious freedom and free speech.
Yeah, that's right. What it looks for is, are these companies committed to neutrality with regard to viewpoint? Are they protective of their customers' religious liberties and viewpoint protection, First Amendment liberties, Second Amendment liberties? This arose, this Viewpoint Diversity Index, in large part because J.P. Morgan and hundreds of other American corporations all participate in the Human Rights Campaign's what they call Corporate Equality Index, which, if you get a 100% score on, what you've committed to is taking the hard left-wing position on so many lunatic issues. Mm-hmm. They've taken the hard left position that boys should be able to play girls and women's sports and wreck the girl, not only wreck their chances to compete, but actually physically harm them, as happened, I think, New England this week, in
a basketball game.
That's right. That's right. I mean, insane things like that that corporations are just bragging and touting themselves for. Well, so the Alliance Defending Freedom put together this competing index to measure and to celebrate companies that actually don't take it, that are neutral, that do stick to their fiduciary duties, that are respectful of all viewpoints. And so your membership, God love all of you, God love you, Andy, for setting this up. 91,000 petitions. Now, you can tell a company is corrupt and partisan, like J.P. Morgan certainly is, because if they got 91,000 petitions from the left, from the Human Rights Campaign, from any left wing, they would have flipped over in midair and done exactly what those organizations told them to do. Of course, they haven't started participating in the Viewpoint Equality Index, or the Viewpoint Diversity Index yet. They have lied about they've lied about knowing about the index, about having any access to it. They've lied all the way up and down the watchtower. So your members have done absolutely yeoman work in once again pinning them to the TAC board and showing that they're liars, that they have different standards for centrists and the right than they do for the left, whose servant they are, despite the fact that they're too big to fail. They're a too big to fail bank, which means that they're backstopped by all taxpayers, and these billionaires can't lose money, because if they lose money, we pay. If they make money, they get the billions.
Exactly right. I think JP Morgan Chase's Viewpoint Diversity Index scores, I know it's single digits, it might be something like 6 or 8%.
Yeah, it's only because it doesn't run negative. If it ran negative, they'd have a negative. They might have an imaginary number.
So do you think the campaign that we ran, and I know you were working with other groups, we weren't the only people petitioning JP Morgan Chase.
You weren't the only, but good heavens, right. You were the cavalry.
Yeah.
That was an immense, gigantic, wonderful, glorious, to use the language that I suspect we'll hear tomorrow, it was huge. It was perfect. It was magnificent.
With a Y, right?
Really grateful. That's right.
But we raised awareness.
Yeah.
Okay. And these and when we appealed to our members, we said, look in your wallet. Do you have a JP Morgan Chase bank card?
Yeah.
Are they managing your retirement funds? Is there a street corner JP Morgan Chase branch? Here's what these people are doing.
Yeah.
And we didn't have to twist a whole lot of arms to get our members involved in this. But do you think we landed some blows?
Oh, I think you're absolutely vital, because you set a figure. You established a number that only the left has been able to achieve before, and you proved once again that JP Morgan's lying when it says it has the same rules, the same objective rules for the right and the left, right? And so you put the heat on them. You gave our organization and lots of other organizations an opportunity to give them a chance to either tell the truth or be liars. And once again, they were liars. And listen, if we can put up numbers like the left does, then that's just one more way we show the hypocrisy, we show the violations of fiduciary duty, and we eventually bring this whole woke corporate nonsense to its knees. And so I couldn't be more grateful to you and your members.
We give the credit to our members, and we give the glory to God. I mean, our members make us look good. It's good news that some states are beginning to push back. I see there's a bill in Mississippi that will stop this nonsense in that state with regard to persecution of people who don't believe in the same ideology as a woke bank's leadership, i.e. conservatives, people of faith, people that love this country. It's good to see that bill advance. We've already went on record as supporting it. We're looking at other legislation working with the ADF, I believe in Tennessee and Kentucky. I can't comment on it because I haven't seen the bills yet, but we know that the wheels are turning down there.
Well, no, that's proof that you're not a congressman, that you'd wait to read a bill before commenting on it. Good heavens. What sort of antique manners are those?
We're out of control here.
That's right.
No. So, Scott, what's on the horizon right now? We're approaching shareholder season.
That's right.
I would imagine you're really busy.
Yeah, we're
a shareholder meeting, right?
Shareholder meeting
annual
season.
Reports, etc.
It's our chance. We submitted about 60 shareholder proposals this year, and so we have up to 60 opportunities to go to these meetings and speak direct truth to these CEOs that don't hear much of it. We've got one coming up on the 28th, I think. The 28th is Apple, and so we got to speak. They gave us 2 whole minutes.
Every word's got to be packed with meaning.
That's right. We get 2 minutes to tell Tim Cook that he's a liar about whether Apple discriminates on the basis of viewpoint. And later in the month, we're going to have an opportunity at Disney, and I hope I know I'm going to have a lot of support in that meeting, but I'm hoping verbally to set Bob Iger on fire and make sure that he goes down in history as the anti-Jack Welch.
We're going to end it right here. That's a pretty powerful statement. Scott, thank you so much for the work that you do at the Free Enterprise Project. Thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us here, talk again about the wonderful work that you're doing on Broadcast Row. And any time in the world, Andy, and anything I can do to help AMAC, you all are such amazing partners to us. Our pleasure. All right.